Welcome. This is the Domain Name Law Show. We're here every Tuesday, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. There's 3 hosts to the show. You might not know it by looking at the stage. Myself, Todd Ryan, and David Michaels and Jeffrey Neuman. Let me take a look. There's David. Okay. Taking my sweet old time getting David up here. Let me get his mic situated. Okay, it's on. Hey, David, how's everything going?
Pretty good. Sunny, spring air, fresh air.
Nice. Okay. Jeffrey is in some depositions today in New York City. I didn't expect him to be done by 3. It's obviously 3 there, but to get out of there and then rush back somewhere to read cases, these cases, and then prepare for this show. So he may join us. He's said he'll let me know, but like I said, with David and I can handle this. I asked Igor to join us because he represented the domain owner in the first case. Jeff was the panelist in our first case, which is armoriq.ai. But before we get to that, we'll be a little patient. Igor might join us. I think he was traveling too. He sent me an email. I think last week he said he was going to be out this week. Probably been nice to have that case when both of them could be here, because I'd like to get insights from them, but we may revisit the case. Okay, anyway, so we got 3 interesting cases today. armoriq.ai, movement, NOVMENT.com, and ncbe.org. We'll get to them in just a second. First, I wanted to say, if you're checking out our outline, you can take a look at it. dnlshow.com/outline. Boy, is it good looking. And got a new logo there at the top. JJN Solutions Law. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, sort of separated a couple things, Jeff's business, and I'm working with Jeff closely now. JJN Solutions Law. Of course, you can go to jjnsolutions.com, check out everything there. And then we've separated a lot of the policy compliance management services that Jeff used to offer, and some services I offered. So we basically started a company called StageMarks, StageMarks. Now you can go to StageMarks, MARKS, like trademarks, but StageMarks, it's going to go there too. But anyway, so TLD Strategies is now named StageMarks. We've expanded what we do, but anyway, it's Jeff and I. So like I said, if you have something legal, go to jjnsolutions.com. That's the JJN Solutions Law PLLC, and everything else over at StageMarks. But you can catch us, either one. And to keep things simple, we're using the JJN Solutions emails, Jeff at JJN Solutions and Todd at JJN Solutions. Like how I barged my way right into some businesses, but things are fantastic. I was going to say we're lightening up on talking about the new gTLD stuff, because David and Anthony both were saying, yeah, it's one of the topics we talk a lot about. We don't need to talk about, but it is heating up, so I will mention it a little bit today. But okay, so if you look at the outline, you'll see the first thing on it. The first thing on it I didn't want to talk about. The first thing was, so on Friday night, a few of us here in Los Angeles area got together. Bruce was in town. Brewster Rooster, bass guitarist, REO Speedwagon. Now he's retired in Canada. He used to live in Thousand Oaks. Okay, Bruce was in town. He always goes to opening day, Dodger game. He went with his daughter. Beautiful weather. That was Thursday. Friday night, we get together at a place in Agoura Hills, Plata Cocina. My wife doesn't eat Mexican food too much, so I love when we meet at a place like that. It's one of my favorites. But anyway, so me, Daniel Kolashuk, and Braden, and David George. That's Dave X, right here on X. Of course, Bruce and Dennis and Al. Al was there too. Okay, so anyway, so we had a little meetup. It was a pretty good time. And then I see last night they had a big meetup in South Florida. And yeah, it seemed like I had big timers there. My partner Chad Fokening was there, but the Domain Kings, both of them were there. Rick Schwartz and Mike Mann. Unbelievable. But David, did you see some photos of that situation yet? The South Florida meetup?
I saw some photos that Eddie posted, and someone said they're getting them all fed to the alligators or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they got a big meetup. I didn't look at it closely, but geez, I mean, 30 people look like. Jason.com. I'd say half the guys I really like down there. Mark Daniels. I think it's just Mark Daniel, right? Um, it's because of your name, David Michaels. Always get confused when someone has like a first name at the last and they have an S on it or they don't. Because people often confuse yours, David. They think like you're sounds like a fucking boy band guy, David Michael. If you didn't put the S on it, David Michael. Ah. But yeah. So a bunch of big timers down there. I say big timers. These domain space is weird. Most of the folks have been around forever, and that's who you see the most successful ones. It reminds me just of like the brokerage business. Who made all the money? Well, it's the people that invested 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, 40 years ago and didn't sell anything. They still own Chevron, okay? And they passed it down. So it's a common denominator in the domain space. The most successful people really have been doing it a long time. One, then you got a little like me. Yeah, I got ahead of the game registering names 25 years ago, and now it's more difficult than ever. I make a lot less, it seemed to me, these last few years than I ever have in this space. And of course, that's why it's always fun to see, okay, who is having some success, and some of these little successes, it's like little cash-ins. I don't know. I'm not, I don't think domain investing is a great business to be in at all. I mean, I think it's fun business. It's like, playing basketball down at the gym. Yeah, it's fun, but I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't spend a lot of time getting it. But then you hear about new people like Renee, who was UFO.xyz, and then not new, but Adam Masonette. I mean, you hear of some of these domain investors. And then when I was at dinner the other night, Dave, who's here, Dave X, loves it, really enjoys it, has success at hand registering names and selling them. So, we hear about, all of us get around. It's sort of like, yeah, these are the people that really, they've been doing it a long time too. That's a common denominator, most of them. But, enjoy it and are successful at it. But I just cannot close my eyes to the 98 out of 100 people that aren't successful at it. And it's not like they're just doing it wrong. There's just only so many nipples for the puppies to feed off of, in my opinion, in the domain space. And I saw on TLD Investors, the guy was talking there, I think it's Ray over there, was saying how it's been pretty slow this last year or two. A lot of people saying that they're giving it up to him. People don't want to talk about the difficulties but any comments that you want to make, David? I got some comments about I'm feeling that I see Arif making a face there. It looks like it's good and it's easy. The jury's still out, Arif, on you've been buying a lot of names now. So we're going to see these next few years when you have $50,000, $60,000 in renewals. Yeah, now the sales really need to keep it up. But it's this
Yeah.
business is just,
So
anyway, go ahead, Dave.
I had over $60,000 in renewals in 2024, so I was underwater quite a bit. And last year wasn't any better when I dropped a lot of names. So this year I'm leaner and I've actually had some sales. So I'm already running positive this year. So that's good. But I'm not going to go back to accumulating too many names. I'm going to focus on developing. We have these AI tools now. Now's the time to build more now than ever.
everybody, I mean, all the guys that I speak to in my closest circle, that's what they're doing. They're basically had a conversation with Jason.com this morning about just flat out building. And he knows, building's one thing, building a business is another, building a site is one thing, building a business is another. I see Mike Gaffney here. He knows when you have more than 20,000 names, and just went through, we're doing a domain fund. We're doing some things on DOMA protocol. Chad and I absolutely are doing it. We're going to make some announcements here, at this Dominion conference. But the point is, going through, I got 1,200 names. Chad's got 25,000. Just went through all of his names to decide which ones. Anyway, of course, you guys know when you have big portfolios, not all of them are, say, attractive names to other investors. Sometimes you have some, and I brought up Mike Gaffney, you have them because you plan on developing them out. You know a good use for them. You don't have, your eyes, I don't know why I said it was pie in the sky, or you're not really like daydreaming about, man, that name, I know I'm going to sell for a lot of money. You bought it because you were going to build on it. But anyway, building the sites are easier than ever. Building a business is still, to me, I don't know, has that ever changed? It's like it's still very difficult to to build a successful business. Okay, I wanted to say quickly about, I'm so tired of the comment, you hear all the brokers say it, and I hear these fucking domain investors say it, that there's all these $1 million sales that are never reported. And we know that. We know there's a lot of sales aren't reported. We check out name bio. We look at, really any sales that are reported here on X, which most of it's bullshit. I don't believe so much stuff. I could care less, and I don't care when people have proof and want to show it to me. I don't believe a lot of the stuff, but that's me. And you know what? Served me good over the years of knowing, I'm real skeptical of this fucking business. And when people do have legitimate sales, it still doesn't make me believe that they're profitable or as profitable as they say. But congratulations, But so the point I was going to make about these all these unreported $1 million sales, because I saw it was either David or Michael Costello made a comment, a reply on a post Rick made, and said, yeah, that last week's report only shows, the reported sales, because Rick was talking about how many of .ai are in the top 10 or 20 or whatever, and 50. And Rick was just saying, .ai is making an impact. There are a lot of .ai. And the Costello brothers came in and said, yeah, boy, if all the reported sales were there, you'd really see things. There's so many that are unreported. And then I had to chime in and say, right, but no domain investor or broker ever talk about the names that are supposedly $1 million names that have never got reasonable inquiries, never got reasonable offers, a solid offer over 20, 25 years, 30 years, and they still just sit there. Those number of domains dwarf the ones of the unreported sales. There's so many. The Costellos responded, well, yeah, but true, they said true $1 million names, like a couple that they have, cost.com, yeah, arguably, yeah, in the seven figures, traveler.com, Nashville, I know, because I know a lot of their portfolio, love it, but like I said, many times, these names are fantastic. They legitimately are worth 7 figures, 8 figures, and they still don't get reasonable or solid offers for that many years. That's why they don't sell. Or as they put it, Costello Brothers put it, yeah, they get these shitty offers, and the owner of the domain name is not going to sell something at such a shitty price. My point was, there's thousands of single word domain names that you could make a case that it's a single word, so it's worth at least 6 figures, and it could be worth 7 figures. And we don't hear that, yeah, they never get offers. Nothing solid. No one's give a shit about some of these great names for 25 or 30 years, even though there may be hundreds of companies that use that name in their name along with capital or whatever. So my point is, yeah,
Well, let's talk about one
yeah.
of our cases. So, like movement.com, it sold in early 2014, and they were initially forwarding it to movementmortgage.com. It was previously parked at marketing.com with some ads on it, and I'm sure they paid over $500,000 for that name, movement.com. So that never got reported. I couldn't find it in DN Journal. I couldn't find it on Name Bio. Like, does anybody know what the price was
You
for
mean
that domain name?
for the correct spelling?
Yeah, it's the correct spelling, movement.com.
Um, yeah, I saw that. So we'll get to let's go ahead and get to our cases. Look at that. The thing that was on the outline. I do love that outline. It's beauty. Um, okay, quickly, David. A few weeks after launching Not Renewing. So I want you guys to check out notrenewing.com. If you're not renewing a domain name, go to notrenewing.com. Mike Sullivan put together this thing. Basically, if you're not going to renew it, you can post it there. And if it sells, it's for $99. But it's very simple. He's got a website, notrenewing.com, and he said a few transactions are happening. Nothing big, but we've always talked about that. There should be a bargain bin. You're not renewing a name, put them there. We know as other domainers you're not renewing them. Maybe I'll wait until it expires and try to get it for nothing. But 99 is not bad. And plus, other people may see it. $99. I like it. Okay, and then there's those stolen domains at GoDaddy. David, I wanted to say quickly about that. It was an article on Domain Gang. Yeah, people think they can file a UDRP with these stolen names now because it's worked a couple times. But in that news case, it didn't work. Do you recall why it didn't work? They tried to get the names via UDRP, but it was declined or denied.
Well, it's most likely because there is no trademark on USA whatever, USA Group Insurance, USA Group Solar. Like none of these names have trademarks on them.
Yeah, it was. And you guys want to read that article? You can. It's on Domain Gang. But yeah, basically the guy wanted to say he owned USA Group as a trademark USA, and anyway, this company had 17 domain names. This guy registered 17 domain names, and this company said, hey, they're spamming and they're stealing money, and basically they stole these names out of our account. They're trying to steal our Google Workspace. They're doing all sorts of illegal stuff. And the UDRP panelists said, no, we don't even know if this respondent is the one that did it. It may have been somebody else before he got the name. So anyway, I can't rule on this. Send it to court. Okay, the other thing, just so I can blow through it, Andrew Miller was the top person, escrow sales, escrow.com sales. Okay, so we all know Drew Rosner 7 times in a row over at Media Options. Probably could have been number one again. That's in my opinion. I have no idea. We know Andrew Miller's a big timer, does a lot of money through them. But Andrew Rosner was just unhappy with how things have been going, the transaction speed and mistakes and bullshit over at escrow.com. So he did a lot less transactions. He said, him and JT said on the previous Sherpa. So I see that Andrew Miller was the top transaction.
Andrew Rosner's problem is that a lot of his buyers are out of the country, and they just don't pass the know your customer regulations that escrow has to do. Like they just can't. They have to comply with so many different jurisdictions, and they can't do those transactions. So maybe those are the transactions that should go through a lawyer or something.
Yep.
Who has insurance.
Yep. And I see Keith Richter was number 2 from Loomis Group. I didn't even know that. Rob Schutz was number 3 from Snagged, and Andrew was number 4. The reason I say that is because Braden was number 7, and Braden, that's pretty much personal stuff there, right? That Braden does. He doesn't, I don't think, much brokering for others, although he does have a company, Name Brokers, now with Daniel we were talking about on Friday night. The point is, so Braden's number 7. We know he did at least in the millions, so that's why he beat out Brian Harbin at Grit, because it takes Brian probably did many more transactions than Braden. I'm just guessing here, but Braden probably did. If he did 2 or 3 transactions, Braden probably did $500,000. I'm sorry, $5 million. Excuse me. So, but interesting that that Drew was unhappy with what's going on over there. And David, you brought it up. So if you do want to use an escrow service, but you don't like all the know your customer rules at escrow.com, or you just want to use a lawyer and you want more personal service, well, there's a couple out there, but go to JJNSolutions.com. Yeah, I'm promoting it because we started an escrow service there. Pretty fantastic too. Beats the prices at escrow.com. It's all personal, meaning Jeff and I are going to handle it personally. And my whole position in it is to make sure that once all the terms are met, that the payout is fast to the seller. And if there's brokers involved, that the payout is accurate and fast to the sellers. But anyway, we're soon going to be pointing domainescrow.com right to basically we got it on JJNSolutions.com. You can see the link on there about escrow services. But yeah, we'll be using domainescrow.com because we're badasses like that. Just getting things set up. But okay, so we'll get to our cases. See here. Fucking bullshit. Excuse my language. I need to really clean this up. We're on replays. People are reaching out to me to do all sorts of important work for them. And, okay, so our first case today, let me go back and see the crowd again. See, the Digo show up. Just want to make sure it could be out here in the crowd. ArmorIQ.com. I'm sorry, it's ArmorIQ.ai. We got a .ai today, a .com, and a .org. So this first one, David, I could go into it, but I've been talking a lot. So why don't you kick off ArmorIQ.ai. Tell us a little bit about complainant, respondent, and some facts of the case, please.
So the critical fact is that the respondent registered their domain name in August 2024 before any of the complainant's trademark filings. So ArmorIQ.ai is used for some agentic service where you can stop AI agents from going rogue. It's a control fabric harness for autonomous agents sitting between the AI agents and the governance domains. I don't know what that means. That sounds a little bit up there, but anyway, it has a whole bunch of company logos on there. I don't know if they're all licensed or permission, but anyways, they had a legitimate site, or they still do. It seems like they're offering a real service. And the complainant, well, they have a trademark in Europe that they obtained in 2025 in the EU and the UK for Armor IQ. And I don't know what website they're on, but they wanted to get this .ai domain name. But they're not selling AI services. They're in a different type of business. And even if they were in the same business, it's a different country. So trademark rights are national, not international, except in the EU where you have like 28 or 35 countries where it applies. I can't remember which. So anyway, there's no bad faith registration because the domain registration date was prior to the trademark application dates. And they couldn't prove common law rights back to August 2024. They just didn't have the evidence. They had a company name, but that's not a trademark right. Just registering a company is not enough. And it's interesting. This case was well researched. There's a lot of precedents cited, and if the respondent had a trademark, that's an absolute defense for legitimate interest. I've never seen that decision that before, so that's good. But this was very well researched. And what did you see in this case, Todd?
Well, okay, so this California company named Maha, I guess that's how you pronounce it, MAJA, Maha Holdings, files this complaint against this individual. I don't know where he's located, actually, the individual, Ram Shanmugam, but he was represented by Igor's got his firm out of Serbia. But so this company files this complaint and says, we're Armor IQ. We're known by Armor IQ. We've been around really since 2023. They say that because the domain was registered in 2024, and they want to show that they predated this domain registration, but they didn't have their trademark wasn't really registered till 2026. I don't know. It was subsequent to the domain registered though, and the complainant didn't show really where they were using it. Basically, no common law rights. So just the normal thing. So keep in mind, Jeff Neuman, our own Jeff, is the panelist in this case, single member panelist. So he's taking this information thinking, okay, so this complainant offers real, physical armor, basically equipment and clothing and stuff like that. So it's really, the respondent who Igor represented is in, the software business and says, hey, listen, we know Armor IQ is identical to their mark, even though, we did register this name prior to them having registration rights. But we're in a completely different business, and Armor and IQ together, we registered it for these reasons. And we are in a different business, and they could have went to our website and see that we do have a legitimate business. They don't like it, but we are legitimate. And we didn't register this in bad faith, like we said. We registered it before they had their registered trademark, and we don't know. They're not that famous. So, but, I don't know if they did, in fact, know of them because, it is a unique name. But so anyway, Jeff was ruling on this case, and he was like, listen, so we'll give it to them. They do have a trademark, but the name was registered before the trademark. That's very important. Jeff brings it up, and then he says the complainant's trademark applications and registrations certainly post-date the registration of the name, so them not establishing common law rights is a problem for them. So that already, Jeff is like, listen, that's really how he's ruling, but he went ahead and looked further and said, the disputed domain resolves to a website that offers AI-related services. It's distinct from the complainant's goods. There's no confusion at all. And the respondent has, demonstrated why the name is good for what the services he's offering, how it's related to it. They obviously operate in different fields, so on. But there was no evidence that when he registered the name at all that he targeted complainant, because we don't even know if he knew about him. So Jeff said, the complaint's denied. And then he went further and looked at, would there be reverse domain name hijacking? And Jeff just felt strongly, this is according to the summary, I'd like to hear it from Jeff too, felt strongly that, this company should have known that this person does have some legitimate use. They're in a separate industry. They are using a similar name, but the respondent said, here's why we selected that name. We selected it before they had their registration rights, and we didn't target them. Jeff felt that the complainant abused the system by filing this case. Should have known they couldn't have won for not just one reason, but for several reasons. And he ruled complaint denied, and he supported the finding of reverse domain name hijacking. So, I guess when Jeff gets in here next week, we'll ask you more about that.
So it's interesting that the complainant's trademark application in the USPTO has been rejected based on confusion with Armor IT for body armor. And the complainant's trademark application in the USPTO was based on intent to use, not actual use. So there's no specimen in the file. There's no way to really know, is this even the actual brand owner for armoriq.com? I don't know, because you go to armoriq.com and you don't see Maha's name on there. So it's really hard to know what is going on here.
So that case, we'll finish with that one, so we can ask Jeff about it, and maybe Igor. I know it would have been nice to hear from them. I mean, just to get the real details that we don't get to see, basically, because the panelist and obviously a respondent gets to see the actual complaint, knows their actual response, and the panelist gets to see both, and we're just looking at a summary. But okay, so armoriq.ai. All right, chalk one up for the domain owner. That was a complaint denied, RD&H. You're not going to be as thrilled in these next two cases. David, I'm going to have you talk about this movement case, and then I'll jump in. This one really frustrated me. Single member panelist Alan Limberry. I consider myself friends with Alan. I talk to him frequently. Yeah, that's true. But now he's down in Australia, and I don't know if that has an effect on it. I mean, Australia, movement is the word movement. But this domain, movment.com, is obviously, you can call it a misspelling or movement without the E. But, well, David, take it from here, and then I'll chime in after you.
Okay, so movement movment.com was the domain that somebody had for a while, and I think they registered 2017. They put in zero-click landers. It doesn't look like it was from above or the other usual suspect out of Australia, but they still had the zero-click parking, and I went there and gave me like a verify, click here, spam virus thing. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just closing that window. But anyway, if they're just doing that to make money, that's not enough money. That's just zero click. But this name generates a lot of traffic. Why? Because it's a one-word domain name that's easily misspelled. And there's 1,263 active trademarks in the USPTO database with the word movement in it. That means that there's not just one company. That could be, where people would go into. Like they don't think of this particular complainant when they are going to that domain name. But the complainant used to have movementmortgage.com. And in 2014, they acquired movement.com for, I don't know how much, it's not reported anywhere, but they have it because it makes a big difference to their business. And they noticed that they were losing traffic to typos going to MOVMENT. Well, yeah, that's what happens. But it's not just them, it's every other brand owner who has the word movement in their name. So anyways, if there was no zero-click parking on this case at this domain name, it probably would have been safe from the UDRP, especially if it was defended. But in this case, it's just so easy to give the complainant an easy win if you have zero-click parking. So do not do it.
The panelists do not like if there's any issues with when you go to the domain name, if it goes to, if it's got weird files there, or if it definitely has pop-ups that look like it's trying to infect your computer, and we know no one likes that, but still, that doesn't take away from the fact that when this person acquired movement, MOVMENT, did he have the complainant in mind and target the complainant? There's just no evidence at all. But Alan says, well, when someone puts on a website that's got these one-click ads or links, and or has this other type of spammy pop-ups, some bullshit. Basically, if we've been to the websites. I go to them here. That's why I don't visit every one of them. I visit, I think, this one, and I don't know the next case. If you visit that website, it's a .org. Yeah, a lot of stuff pops up, and when the respondent, the domain owner, does not answer, and then he's got all this goofy shit on his website, well, the panelist doesn't like it. Thinks, I want to take your stuff away from you. You're not using it. That's not a legitimate use. And by doing that, that shows that you registered it in bad faith. You might have registered it with bad intentions, but that doesn't mean you targeted that complainant. They certainly make that leap like you registered it with bad intentions, which is bad faith, with regards to this complainant. So I don't agree with the decision at all here. One, I would need to see hard evidence that the person registered it because they knew of my mark, they knew of the complainant's mark, and they had reached out to the complainant. Likely, this is how I would transfer it only. They reached out to the complainant, said, I got this name, I know you would love it, it's $1 million. That shows some targeting, just a little bit of evidence, but there's no evidence of any of this. If I was a panelist, I would think it's a word, it's misspelled, like management. A lot of people don't have that E in there under management. They'll make mistakes when spelling. All sorts of words are misspelled. More misspelled than others, but some pretty good words, but like I said, movement. So this one, I think a panelist, I would immediately, when I receive this case, think, boy, there'd have to be some strong evidence of targeting before I would transfer this name, and there's absolutely none in this case of targeting. It just feels like it was used in bad faith, so it was targeting anyway. So I just say bad decision.
There's one more defense that could have been used in this case because the complainant's trademark was movement mortgage, not movement. And that makes a big difference. So you could say the trademark is not confusingly similar, especially given how many other movement trademarks are out there that are active.
Yeah.
So that would have been, the first factor. Like, hey, you don't have a matching trademark. Sorry.
Yeah. They just basically, when you don't respond and you have some bullshit on your website, but they can, I mean, I see, like in this case, we're going to jump to the next case. So this one, Alan Limberry, this guy's so smart too. He had his reasons, and fucking, you can read it you go to dnlshow.com/outline, and you can see the case. It's a forum case. And the next case, that was a transfer. So the domain owner lost the name Movement, Movement without the E, without the first E. This next case, ncbe.org. Okay, this case will really make you mad too. But when you don't answer and you're a company out of Panama, hey, I think one of my friends here in the room from Panama. I don't think this was his name. He would have answered. So I'm sure this wasn't his. The complainant in this case, National Conference of Bar Examiners. I love those guys. Okay, so they basically have, well, how does it say it here? But basically they handle all the bar exams across all the states. Somehow I don't know if they create the exams or if they just...
They create the multi-states multiple choice questionnaire that's used in most states. And they've been trying to normalize it lately, update it. And it's interesting that the person who runs it is out of Wisconsin, and she never wrote the bar exam because in Wisconsin, if you graduate from law school, you don't need to write the bar exam. You automatically get licensed.
Where, in Wisconsin?
At least if you went to law school. Yeah, in Wisconsin. If you go to law school in Wisconsin, you graduate there, you can get licensed in Wisconsin without having to write any bar exam. That's been the rule for decades.
Any other states do that?
Nope, not that I know of.
Geez, I'm wondering now if you can take courses online in Wisconsin. Maybe some of them might finish up there in Wisconsin, just get licensed right there for no reason. But no, that's interesting. I didn't know that, David. Well, okay, so this NCBE, they're on the complainant, the domain they're on is ncbex.org. So they're on ncbex.org. The 5-letter, they're represented by this law firm out of Texas. But the respondent in this case, domain admin out of Panama. I have an idea who that could be. Okay, so the domain, once again, disputed is ncbe.org. Just told you the complainant's on a 5-letter. But anyway, so this person that registered this name didn't respond. I've had it since 2002. Seems to me that, okay, but what's interesting here, David, and you can tell me if this is common. This company, this NCBE organization, been around since like 1913, but yet they didn't get their first USPTO registered mark until 2009. And these are effing lawyers, or whatever, an organization that's closely related. I'm sure there's some attorneys over at this, place. They're not just all admin people. So they've been around for over 100 years, but they just decided to get their trademark about 15, 17 years ago, 18 years ago.
So I went to their 2003 website on archive.org, and it didn't look like they were using NCBE as a trademark. So they weren't using it as a source identifier. They use it as one of the links in the header, and they actually had the full company name listed out in the first paragraph. So National Committee for Bar Examiners or something. I remember going to that website back in the early 2000s because that's when I was writing the bar exams.
I see. So
So
that's
yeah, they are in the 5-letter.
Yeah.
So they didn't actually have use, so they couldn't actually get a registration. But they're claiming in this UDRP complaint that they had common law rights dating back to 1931. But common law rights require actual usage as a trademark. So, but that was glossed over.
Yeah.
So,
Well, David from Panama is here, and I don't know. I wanted to comment on it. David, nice to have you. What's going on? Okay, I can never tell if somebody's up there or not. I approved it. You know me. All right. So I don't know. It could have been David's name. There's only 5 people I know in Panama that are domainers. They all have big portfolios, so who knows what it could have been. But yeah, so but the issue was with this name is you go to it and there's pop-ups and it doesn't look good. So this single member panelist just didn't like it, didn't like what he saw. And plus, Lloyd, I don't know, the panelist was Adam Taylor, probably a lawyer. Lawyers, they don't like each other, but they'll stick up for each other. And then so in this case, he probably thought ncbe.org. David, and that does make sense. So they probably didn't register. They had their long name, the actual words were registered, maybe and then they finally registered this. They wanted to go by NCBE, and they realized, damn, we got ncbex.org. It's just ridiculous. And they go to that thing, and it reminds me of like a not used Twitter handle, and the person gets so mad and complains to Twitter, and then X gives them the name, and they're like, yeah, that person shouldn't have had bullshit on the site. Okay, and so that's exactly what happened here. There's no evidence that they targeted the complainant, but the panelists can say when you have, this type of material on your website, pop-ups, spam, just basically you're trying to fish for information. Anything we don't like and you don't answer, if you answer, we still may not give it to you because we hate that content so bad. But yet it's a stretch because, that's bad. It might be bad, show bad faith registration because of the content, because there's bad faith use. But did they do it, targeting, and I guess it's supposedly so popular, that acronym, that you would probably know about it, especially if you got the name back in 2002. I don't know. It's just a stretch. You don't answer and there's bad content on the site.
So I probably did visit the website in 2002 or 2003, and I probably saw back then the ads for the get a car loan, find a car. That they had those like solid link ads back then that were common back then. So they weren't zero click. Those were more legitimate. And that was standard practice in the industry because they weren't infecting people's computers. They weren't surprising people, or, they were innocuous. But anyway, yeah, I probably did go to that web domain name, and I had to figure out, oh, okay, it's ncbex.org to get, because you have to download the sample questionnaires because you want to do practice exams before you write the actual bar exam. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I did the same thing.
There was nothing on there that I could see over the last 20-some years because for some reason archive couldn't, show anything. It was just all blank pages. Maybe there was nothing. But now it's at some URL that I don't some DNS that I don't recognize. It's just serving up zero-click ads. It's the same kind of situation as with movement.com.
Yep. So that name was transferred. ncbe.org. You got to answer. I don't know if I invited David and Arif to come up because Arif had his hand up earlier. I wanted to say something about, I don't know, domain investing, which we got a big show this Thursday. So join me and Josh.
Oh, I want to mention something else about this stuff. So we saw how the Armor IQ case really made a difference with a solid defense. Citing, and that includes citing prior decisions. That is essential. You can say the right principle of, UDRP precedent, but if the panelist thinks you're a smart aleck or you should know better, what's the case? And that's almost like a password, getting into this club. And that's why a lot of successful domain investors hire domain attorneys to respond for them because they have all the cases cataloged for them. That's what's essential. You got to do that. If you just respond with like your own arguments, it's not enough. You actually need to show case law.
Yep.
So go to domain tools dot just go domain.tools or sorry udrp.tools or udrp perspectives.org, um, domainlawpodcast.com, and they're all there. Like you'll see all the good stuff there.
Hey, David, you're off mute, so go ahead. What were you going to say about that case, that ncbe.org? I think that was the one, the domain admin. What's up, David? Hello, my friends. Hey, David. Come in, Panama. My grandma. All right, so you can't hear me? Then go on mute. Hey,
can I say something? Hey, Todd and David.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad. Then Arif jump in after that.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask about you're bringing up issues where the landing page was a landing page that had ads on it or pop-ups, and that has a detrimental effect on the concept of you had no intentions with it, but some of those pop-ups or those ads could have infringed upon, right, a similar name. My question is, if you just have it on a for sale page with no ads on it, is that a better option?
Sometimes, and I'll tell you why. Some panelists say that's okay because they're up on the latest UDRP precedents, especially if you read what it says on udrpperspectives.org. However, there's still a lot of panelists who don't accept that or don't know about that. And they just go by the old rules that they've been doing for the last 20, 30 years, or actually 26 years now. So yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to put on some actual service, put a paragraph or two about what you're selling. If you're selling water heaters or whatever, just like specify what you're doing, make it simple, make it clean.
So the answer, Brad,
So
is
make it look good.
yeah, so on the landing page, like for example, spaceship landing pages give you that option of putting 400 characters in there to describe it. And in that description, you should say that what your intentions are and making it clear that it's something other than what the similar name might seek to form a UDRP on you for.
No, that on the what you're talking about is a description. They're giving you a description that's on a for sale page to say, hey, here's some reason why you might want to pick up this name. So, but David was talking about was something different about having a not a for sale page, a separate page saying, hey, thanks for visiting this. We do offer water heaters. Call me at 800 this, and then pick up the phone and say, yeah. So the description thing on the spaceship pages is almost like saying, hey, this name is available for sale. In the description you might put, this would be a great name for someone in this business or someone who's looking to do this or to upgrade your name. It's sort of like when you're, all of us know here in the room, and it's a for sale lander.
No, I understand. And
Yeah.
but I was just, so the question that I had, and I guess you've answered it, David, is that it's not enough just to have a for sale page with no description on it to protect you. You need to have a landing page that you create that has a description and no ads.
You can have ads that are not infringing, like simple ads, not zero-click ads. So like, for example, there was a case involving a cruise liner that went after a religious name, Star of the Sea. That's what the case was. It was I think it was Mary Star of the Sea or whatever. Just Star of the Sea .com or .org, and there were actually ads on there for some churches in Hawaii. So it's that sometimes saves the name because it misdirects. It's not the cruise line. So as long as you're not infringing the cruise line, you should be okay based upon that decision. But it's not 100% guaranteed. Not all panelists will know about that. They don't track all these decisions.
And Brett, we're talking
So
if hold on, we're talking if you're not going to answer, the best thing to do is not have a for sale page even. But if you're going to answer, then you say, yes, this name's for sale. I buy and sell as a business. Here's other examples, and then you know what's more important than your landing page or wherever it goes is, are you responding? If you're not responding, then you certainly want to have a legitimate page there that shows a legitimate business, because what David's saying is some panelists don't consider buying and selling domains legitimate. More and more they seem to be, but not. Let's go to Arif and then to David, and then if we have time, we'll go back to you, Brad. Arif, what's going
okay,
on?
thank you.
Hey guys, yeah, I was Todd, just before when I met the little smiley face, it was just about your comment about the too many dogs and not enough nipples. I was dying of laughter. But yeah, I won't dwell too much on my sales for this year. But this year is pretty amazing. I'm really getting close to covering all my costs already, and we're just end of March. But we'll save that for a Thursday discussion. I know you guys like to keep to the law stuff. But then also just want to thank you guys for everything, holding these rooms. The information you guys sell is invaluable. Like it's just really amazing. The energy and effort you guys put towards putting good information that really is helpful to everybody. So I just wanted to mention that as well. So that's it.
Thanks. And we do, do look at these cases, and there's so many of them, and we get mixed up too. Sometimes thinking, was that this case or that case? Because it is frustrating when we see domain names being transferred away, and maybe they should be, but still, I mean, when I say maybe they should be, maybe they were the domain owner targeting somebody, but there still needs to be the evidence, and that's what frustrates me. But thanks for bringing up Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Josh and I are going to be doing, and once again, the DNX show. We took off last week, and I know you had a nice room, Arif. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I certainly will. That was a space you held last Thursday. We were out. We're going to be back, and we got, Josh, you think I'm, sometimes bearish. Josh posted something this week about in 5 years from now, who knows if domains are going to be, the time is now. And then people
Saw that.
say, get on him. Hey, what about this? But he really believes it too. It's just sort of like, you got to be ready for whatever that's going to happen. And we don't know, but it's easy to say, it's like married couples. People act like, well, yeah, you stay married for 40 years. Fuck, it's easy to stay married. You don't file. You don't file for a divorce. I mean, basically, it's almost like this domain space, it's been successful for so many years. So it's easy to say it's going to continue. No one can call it when it's not going to be fruitful as a business anymore. I'm talking about domain investing. But, I'm a firm believer that, at some point it's not going to be. It's like a technology. Yeah, in 20 years, when people say they want to leave this stuff for their kids, go ahead. At some point, a lot of this stuff is going to be worthless. But you got some domain investors who think, nope, keeps going up. Can you imagine in 100 years, all this shitty stuff I have can be worth millions? So I just don't believe that. David, thanks for being here from Panama. What'd you think about that
Hi,
case?
Todd.
What's up?
Hi, Todd, everyone. Great to be here. So let me clarify that. I have known for many, many years. There are two privacy companies. I have never known where they're located, by who they're managed. But when you do research on names, tens of thousands of domains show a domain privacy service, actually two, as I said, from Panama. So they are very, very big portfolios under privacy in Panama entities. I don't know who they are, as I said. I have no idea, but they show Panama. That doesn't mean that the owner is from Panama or the domain is owned by a company or a business in Panama. It just means that I think a few million domains are registered under those companies because of many benefits that Panama has. So if a company is based in Panama and they sell a domain outside Panama and you fulfill certain requirements, it gives you many benefits. So maybe that's the reason so many domains are under privacy here. But that company has nothing to do with Panama.
Well, you're right there. I mean, there are that privacy company because we do see a lot of domain admin out of Panama, but there is, I know of a company in Panama. You probably know of them too, but I'm not going to mention them since we're talking about who potentially was this respondent who lost their name. Has a portfolio of millions of names, parks them, and when you have that many names, sometimes some of them are, similar, maybe possibly a typo. I'm being nice to a
Yes.
trademark, and so there are companies out of Panama. I mean, I know of one big one, but you're right. Also, but if it's just simply the privacy parking service that's out of there, you can be from anywhere in the world, use their service, and it's going to show domain admin Panama. So it is confusing. You see a respondent with that domain admin Panama doesn't mean the actual domain owner is there. So
Well,
thanks for
I,
bringing that
I
up.
hope everybody thinks all those millions of domains that show Panama are mine. Don't tell them.
Well, I know when they're yours, when it's a single word in Spanish, and you're like, of course you guys know
No,
single, right? I'm
I
just
have
kidding.
I have more
Joking.
domains in English than in
I know.
Spanish.
I know
But
that. I do that to be.
95% of my domains are all public, are not under privacy. Only a few of them are, but the majority are public. Great being here with all, Todd. Thanks
Yeah.
for everything you do.
No. Thanks, David. It's always good to hear your voice too. I remember the very first time I heard that we were on Clubhouse, and it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and I thought, this guy scares the shit out of me. And then I thought, no, he's a nice guy. This guy's a beauty. But and then I start hearing a lot of people that I know you have relationships with in the business, and they talk so highly of you. Then I have to really ask them, really? Is that what? But no, David, it's always a pleasure having you around. And thanks, Era, for being here. I look forward to talking with you more on Thursday. Brad, do you have anything more do you want to say today? Any
Well,
questions?
I wanted to just also commend you and David and Jeff for putting this show on. But getting back to my original question and David's response, so it's even reinforces the concept. If you do have a UDRP against you, and you should hire an attorney, or at least know the UDRP /perspective.org site that you mentioned, David, has the latest ruling about the ads on the landing page to help clarify that for one of the panelists.
Yeah, it's UDRPperspectives.org.
And he also
Yeah,
mentioned
so
his site, domainlawpodcast.com. What are you saying, Brad, is that, you want to refer to cases, and those sites will have a lot of the cases to say, here's a case that shows that states
yes,
domain investing
absolutely.
is
Yeah, no,
legitimate and so on.
I'm like, reinforcing that aspect for sure.
And
But
I
I'm
will
sorry.
say, no, Brad, this gentleman that Mira Holdings who lost a couple domains. The one I'm thinking of is something Orchid. Remember, was spelled wrong. I mean, spelled like a misspelling of orchid, the flower, ORCID. Such a popular company that's on orcid.org, and he had the .com. He is smart. He's a domain investor. Great portfolio. Has hired every, from Howard New to John Berry Hill. The top domain lawyers have helped him in the past, and they haven't always been successful for him. I think pretty much. And then he's really successful himself in responding. He knows what he's doing. He knows to add in all the citations and so on. He still is. Sometimes I think the panelists discriminate against individuals who are answering because they prefer, and I don't think they prefer, but I think they take more seriously when you have a lawyer that's in between, that you've hired representation, and it's bullshit because it's so much money. And so now that gentleman at Mira Holdings, he had to file ACPA case, which now that really is costing money. But you don't like somebody to bully you out of your assets when you really believe you have rights to them, and you many times you have rights to them. It was just a wrong decision by a UDRP panelist. There's no appeal process, so now you have to do, if you want to keep it, the only way to try is file an ACPA case. And I think like in that case, it might have helped if he had an attorney for the UDRP, and then now he's hired one, for the ACPA case. It would have been a lot less to, get one of the guys that we know, the top guys, and from Jeff here to John to Zach. I mean, anyone, I can name off a billion more. Jason Schaefer. I mean, you get these guys who that's all they do, and it does. I just know it affects the panel's decision a little bit. I think they take a little bit more serious when they know a lawyer's been involved. And also, I wanted to say quickly when I think about the money. Yeah, you see how
But
that
that's so true.
Yeah.
I'm Todd. There is a sense, and it's kind of like a weird thing, but if it's a cocky judge and he had some experience with a domain investor previously, right, then that could even influence him. So, even I could just tell you, like for in a land use case, like going up against the county commission and the citizens, if the citizens, no matter how right they are, if they don't have a land use attorney representing them to go against the land use attorney representing the developer, no matter what, it's going to go to the attorney with the developer. That's just how the system works. So I think the same thing happens here, and what you're saying is true. If you could get an attorney, it's better.
Yeah, and we see it for those who've spent time in, in litigation. Many times, you have really smart, especially when it's civil stuff, really smart people handling their own stuff, their own case. But it's just always a benefit to have an attorney there. And if you really want, more about your case usually than the lawyer, you can work with your lawyer, try to, just get a good rate and let them know you're going to do a lot of the work, and try not. But it certainly helps. I've just seen it over and over. Quickly about the money, I saw a bunch of people at that South Florida meetup, and I think the reason why there's 50 people there, and I know a lot of the guys have big bank accounts. They like to go when there's no admission fee. Okay, rich or poor, you like to go. Let's have a meetup. If I want to have a steak, I'll pay for it myself. If I want to have a drink, I'll pay for it myself. By the way, tomorrow is 33 years I haven't had a drink. April 1st, 1991. But anyway, that's why people showed up at the South Florida meetup. 50 people, 40 people. Because, there should be no cover charge. You got to go to these events. And now even our organization event is, $1,200 for ICA in New York. There's reasons for it. $600 is going to be the cost of going to it. People want to go to these meetups. We don't want to spend money. If we get there, we already have to travel there. We already have to, I know there's reasons behind why, some of them have to charge. And then, the names con, I'll talk more about that next week. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes getting some of these events ready. And I like it. And I'll be at NamesCon and I'll be at ICA. I love this stuff, but I do know there's a lot of guys that are in this domain space, and we're going to talk about it Thursday, who aren't money makers, who are trying to come up, trying to get out of the negative, and they might not make a lot of money in their other businesses. They support families and stuff. They want to be part of some of these events, and to get priced out, that's just offensive, for people, because they're thinking, do we have anything where people can just go? You can rub elbows. That's why I'm really impressed with that South Florida meetup. So many smart guys there, and you could pin them down and talk to them. And then the stupid ones too. There's a couple pompous, stupid guys. All right.
That Eddie Cisco puts that on, and he's, it's a really good thing.
Yeah. Sends out an email and lets them know this is where it's going to be, and there's no fee. Enjoy yourself. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Every Tuesday, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. There's 3 of us. Today, Jeff was out handling some legal business. And We appreciate you joining us. Like I said, we'll be here definitely next week, same time, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. On Thursdays, Josh and I do a room. It's, I say, solely about domain investing. Sometimes we'll touch on other topics, but I'm putting together the outline this evening for that show, and there's so many topics to go over because we missed a week. But thanks. So be sure and check us out this Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on the DNX show. Until then, take care of yourself and enjoy the rest of the day, evening, night, wherever you're at. Take care.